All right, welcome everybody to Direct Snap, the top-level sports NFL talk show. I'm your host, as always, Connor Groel, and you know the drill by now. We're going to spend these first few minutes waiting for people to join the Facebook live stream. I apologize in advance for my voice. I'm getting over a cold. Hopefully, I will be able to keep things going throughout the whole show. At least we'll do our very best. As you can see from your screen right now, we're going to start the show, as always, again, looking at the top stories. We've got a lot of them this week, so we're going to run through them pretty quickly. Rapid fire top stories before heading into the power rankings and the predictions in the second half. So again, just going to give people another moment on Facebook Live. Very exciting show planned for this week, and a lot of very interesting things happening inside the NFL. It's only been 2 weeks this season, but we've had a lot of huge storylines, breakout players, and it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Got a lot to talk about on the show today. So we are going to get going. First story of the day will be the NFL's kicking catastrophe. Now this has been crazy because, normally we have a few times every year a kicker has a pretty bad game and they lose their job, they miss multiple kicks, But this week was really something different. We had 19 kicks missed on Sunday alone, probably a few others as well. 12 field goals, but what's really surprising to me was 7 missed extra points. Extra points got moved back a couple of years ago. They're now a 33-yard field goal, but still conversion rates around 95, 96%, maybe even higher. So you're never really expecting to see that many missed kicks. But a few kickers in particular had it worse, and those would be the kickers from the Browns and the Vikings. So first off, Zane Gonzalez misses 4 kicks and just a 3-point loss to the Saints, 21-18. So how did that 18 points come about? That is 2 touchdowns with missed extra points. So there's the 6 and 6 for 12, and then 2 of 4 from field goals. So that's the other 6. So missing 4 kicks in total, and he lost his job. Team will sign undrafted rookie Greg Joseph to replace him. I have a few thoughts about this. First off, he was kicking with a groin injury, which apparently Coach Hugh Jackson was not aware of at the time of the game. Obviously, he wasn't a great kicker as a rookie. They kept him along, gave him another shot. He struggled definitely early this season. So I do think it's fair to let him go, despite the injuries and maybe in part because of the injuries. But what was interesting to me was his replacement, Greg Joseph, again, an undrafted rookie out of Florida Atlantic. He, was the kicker all 4 years in college, but only for the career at about a 70% field goal conversion rate, which is really strange because, with so many schools, with so many college kickers, you would think, and I do understand that maybe not all of them have professional intentions. But this is a guy pretty consistent, actually, over most of his college career. Every year was just about that 69, 71, 68%, averaging out to about 70. So really interesting because we do have a lot of NFL kickers with NFL experience that are free agents. One comes to mind, Roberto Aguayo, obviously. He's had his struggles, but at least was a great kicker in college, so we know he has that potential. Nerves were definitely a problem with him. But just a bunch of other kickers as well. So interesting, they'll give this guy a shot. They'll give Greg Joseph a shot, but also the other kicker losing his job over the weekend, Vikings rookie kicker Daniel Carlson. So these young kickers struggling with that NFL pressure. Now this guy, I feel really bad for Daniel Carlson. 29-21 tie between the Vikings and the Packers. By the way, that is scoregami. Never a 29-29 game has never happened in the NFL prior to this week. But when you look at it, 3 missed field goals, 2 in overtime. First possession of the overtime, the Vikings get down. It's about a 45-yarder, if I remember correctly. Misses that one, and that's something that's just going to happen sometimes. Sometimes you're just going to miss the kick, especially, first real big kick of his career. So he misses that one. Packers go down there. Looks like they're going to get into field goal range and win it. But then Aaron Rodgers fumbles the ball, recovers it. He gets sacked on the next play, back out of field goal range. So Vikings will get one more shot at this before overtime and before we have a tie for the second consecutive week. That hasn't happened since the 70s. And the Vikings get in perfect position. They get down, and it's about an extra point, the length of this kick. So again, we're talking 95, 96% on a normal week, but this was definitely not a normal week for kickers. So he misses that one too. 3 missed kicks. All 3 of his field goals were missed. So he is out of a job. Vikings coach Mike Zimmer, someone asked him, in a press conference to, take him through the decision. And he simply just said, "Did you watch the game?" So pretty much speaks for himself. You can get away with missing 1 or 2 every now and again in the NFL, but 3 in a week, that'll be it. But it does look like the Vikings ultimately made the right decision because the guy they were able to get to replace him is just the second most accurate kicker in NFL history, Mr. Dan Bailey. He's been kicking for the Cowboys for nearly a decade, I believe, and then was cut this season in place for a younger kicker. Dan Bailey, sorry, I just got a FaceTime call, but Dan Bailey, he would have been $3.2 million would have been his salary, and against the cap, it would have counted for about 4.5, I believe. So the Cowboys making the move to go with a younger kicker, save some money. Hopefully he'll be close to as good. Dan Bailey, nearly 90% on his career, one of the best we've ever seen once again. And we've kind of been wondering, because this happened a few weeks ago, why hasn't anyone picked this guy up? Because clearly he's an amazing kicker, and if you've got some money, or he probably wouldn't even, he would sign for less than that, 3.2 or whatever. Why has he not joined a team? And I think we found the answer this weekend. It was just he's looking for the right spot for him and the right spot to have a chance at winning a Super Bowl. Because according to Adam Schefter, he's turned down at least 4 offers, many offers for more money or multiple years, but instead deciding to go with this 1-year, $2 million contract, again, just to try to get himself in best position possible to win a championship. And that's something we also saw with Kirk Cousins over the offseason. He had options to go to other teams. I believe the Jets were going to offer him much more than he eventually accepted with the Vikings. But once again, just deciding he wants to play in Minnesota, better chance to win. And so Minnesota, another one of those teams. I've talked about LA, and I'll talk about LA more today, doing a great job at luring in these free agent signings with the promise of winning football games. And really for a lot of players, especially when you've already been in the league for a while and you already have that financial stability, that's what it's all about. It's at the end of the day, when you retire, are you going to be able to say that you were a winner? Are you going to be able to show people those rings? And the Vikings in a position to maybe make that happen this year, one of the best teams in the league. As we move on to our next top story, Ryan Fitzpatrick with some more Fitzmagic. I just want to, again, thank everyone for tuning in, some of the people that just showed up, run through our top stories here on Direct Snap. I'm Connor Groel. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, journeyman quarterback, he's been around the block. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's had his stints starting with Buffalo, with the Jets, with Houston. He's also spent some time with the Rams, with the Bengals, with the Titans. He's actually started at least one game on all 7 teams he's been a member of. But now he's 35 years old. He was never really one of those top-tier starting quarterbacks and moves to Tampa Bay to become the backup for Jameis Winston. But once Jameis Winston is suspended for the first 3 weeks of the season, Fitz gets another chance. And, The thing with Ryan Fitzpatrick is it always seems like he shows up with some of these crazy performances, and he's done it once again. In that first game of the season, 48-40 victory over the Saints. He had over 400 passing yards and some extra rushing yards. I believe over 450 total yards and 5 touchdowns in this one as the Bucs beat the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles at home. Another 400-yard game, another 4-touchdown game. Did throw 1 interception, but being the man as the Bucs advanced to 2-0. And you're not going to believe where they are in my power rankings because they started the season number 30 for me. But here he goes again with his second straight game of 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Believe it or not, just the third person in NFL history to put up those numbers. And the other two, this is a trivia question in the making. What a random list of 3 quarterbacks. We have Ryan Fitzpatrick. We have Dan Marino, one of the all-time greats with 420 career touchdown passes. And then we have Billy Volek, just a long-time backup quarterback, only 27 career touchdowns. He actually did this in 2004 with the Titans. He started about 8-10 games that year, I believe. But very interesting that we see, and this is something we do see a lot of times in sports, is some of these more ridiculous short-term streaks come from really unlikely names. And Fitzpatrick definitely doing it for the Bucs early on in the season. And in my opinion, even when Jameis Winston is ready to come back for week 4, I think you have to keep playing this guy unless he has multiple, really terrible performances. Because Jameis Winston's a guy, he's never really been great. He's been okay. He's been a solid starting quarterback, but he has a lot of off-the-field issues, a lot of personal conduct policy, and a difficult guy to market, really, for a franchise. So I would think he's still someone that, has a lot of trade value potentially, or you could just keep him. But if you have a quarterback that you can get a few years out of, that you are confident in, I think you should go with that guy instead of Jameis Winston, personally. Ryan Fitzpatrick, we've seen him do these performances, and then he kind of regresses to the mean. So it'll be difficult. It'll be difficult for sure for him to keep up this level of performance, and I don't think he can do it. We're obviously trying to keep, if this is Ryan Fitzpatrick playing at an 11 out of 10, if we can even get 8 out of 10 Ryan Fitzpatrick, the Bucs will take it. But, inconsistency has kind of marred some of the greater performances in his career. What's interesting about this is a lot of people, including myself, have been using the term Fitzmagic to talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. As I realized, I said we were going to rapid fire through these, and that did not happen. Oh, well. But the trademark has actually been filed for Fitzmagic over the weekend. The only problem with that is it wasn't Ryan Fitzpatrick's team. No, despite the swagger, the confidence, showing up in the press conference looking like Conor McGregor. He is not the one that files a trademark. It's actually Minkah Fitzpatrick, the number 11 overall pick in the 2018 draft, an Alabama cornerback now playing for the Dolphins. He's had a decent start to his NFL career. Interesting that he's the one. And I haven't heard anything about it being in response to Ryan Fitzpatrick. The Fitzmagic name is something he has used in the past. He's used it in college. It is kind of his trademark. I would definitely think probably someone in his team is making a rush to get that trademark filed, though, now that we do see Ryan Fitzpatrick showing up. But Mick, obviously, he says that he's willing to give the name to Ryan Fitzpatrick if he wants to. They can work out some kind of agreement. I don't expect Ryan Fitzpatrick to really be too interested, but very interesting to kind of see as one Fitzpatrick goes off, another Fitzpatrick files for Fitzmagic, and we'll see how both of them continue to fare in this season. Moving on, talked about Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're going to talk about another quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. And what is it about the Patricks, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Pat Mahomes? Two best quarterbacks in the league out of these first 2 weeks, and that's something none of us would have expected. So if you need a little recap on Pat Mahomes, went to college at Texas Tech. He was the 10th overall pick in 2017 for the Kansas City Chiefs, looking to be that replacement to Alex Smith. A lot of guys thought that the Chiefs might have reached on him a little bit. I know personally I was hoping the Giants could snag him in the second round, but he went number 10. So obviously much, much earlier than we were expecting. But he's definitely shown why the Chiefs were so high on him. 10 touchdown passes through 2 games. That's the most touchdown passes of anyone in the first 2 weeks of an NFL season in NFL history. He did start one game late last season, but those 10 touchdowns through his first three career starts is the most all time as well. The 2-0 Chiefs are killing it this season, already with 80 points total, leading scoring team in the NFL. And so a lot of people are talking. I think it's much too early to be talking MVPs. I usually like to wait, 4 or 5 games before we start to see who those early front runners are. Fitzmagic, I like the joke. But this is really interesting because the Chiefs, again, and this is something I've hit upon the last few weeks, definitely at least last week. I mean, they just have weapons for days. The running backs, unbelievable. Travis Kelce, tight end, Tyreek Hill, a lot of speedy guys, a lot of versatility, a solid offensive line. Their defense, hasn't been exactly great, but they've played some really great offenses, and they still have a lot of big names. So not really worried about the defense. This is a team that's easily the favorite to win their division. Could be a team we're looking at for one of those first-round buys in the AFC. Early MVP favorite. I mean, if you have to give the MVP to somebody after 2 games, it's easily going to be him or Fitzpatrick, in my opinion. I think MVP, again, is a little too premature, but I'm really excited to see what this guy has to bring for the rest of the season and for the rest of his career. Could he potentially be that next great NFL quarterback? The thing that strikes me is just how comfortable he looks. Really just slinging the ball with ease. It helps when guys are wide open like he's had for a lot of these passes, but he's also fit some into some tight windows, playing very well. And I'm really excited to see what the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes have to bring to us, coming into the rest of this season. But not everything is a highlight. In fact, sometimes we have some more unfortunate stories. And one of those has been the Buffalo Bills, and they've been getting torn apart the first 2 games of the year. I mean, we knew they were going to be bad. No one really thought they were going to be this bad. And perhaps as a result of that, but perhaps for other reasons as well, cornerback Vontae Davis, a 9-year veteran, 2-time Pro Bowler, decided to hang it up. But he didn't no press conference, no formal statement. He just packed a bag and left. Halftime of the game against the Chargers, they're trailing 28-6, and he says, "Enough for me. I'm out of here." Changes clothes, gets in the car, drives away, and he's done. He's done for the career. So my first thought about this, when I first heard the story, I just started cracking up laughing. The Bills are so bad that people would rather retire than play for the Bills at this point. But you look a little further into it. He said he's called it a therapeutic decision. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody retiring mid-game before. Very rare to even retire mid-season. Really, you would have to say, if this is what he feels like, he says, he's of a sane mind. He's making this decision. He's not going to regret it or anything. Doesn't regret the timing of it. If he's not a guy that's going to be out there and he's not going to be into it and he's not going to be willing to put in 100% for the team, he's probably not a guy that should be out there in the first place. There are other guys that will love the opportunity. He is on the tail end of the career. So if this is the decision he wants to make, I think I have no problem really with him making the decision. A lot of people will call it selfish in some ways. I tend to agree. He says it kind of hit him like this eureka moment, as they were getting clobbered by the Chargers, that, this just isn't for him anymore. I feel like there had to have been some kind of inkling of it beforehand. But ultimately, like, he's had a great career. I don't know. There's going to be tons of jokes, and I've already made tons of jokes about, retiring mid-game. The idea of it is pretty funny. But ultimately, if it's what he wants to do, it's what he wants to do. And I think someone that's not fully into it, is not somebody that should be out there on the football field. As we continue on with our last few top stories, we're going to make these a little quicker. Browns trading Josh Gordon to the Patriots for a 5th-round pick. Costa, if you're here, say something, because I know we love to talk about Josh Gordon. So yeah, obviously, just played just 11 games over the last 5 seasons. Combination of being suspended by the league, checking himself into rehab, a lot of problems with him. He's always been someone that everyone's been wanting to, try to give him a lot of help, put him back on the right track. And we've seen some signs this season, but he's, never someone that's really had his act together too much, unfortunately, considering he led the league in receiving yards in 2013. But this is really something the Patriots do a lot, is they find these sometimes little older guys, kind of discarded by their former teams. They just pick them up for, they'll throw a 5th-round pick, they'll throw a 6th-round pick. Deal also includes a 7th-round pick back to the Patriots if he's active for less than 10 games. So the Patriots could even steal a pick back on this deal. So basically getting them for, a bag of chips. And for a player with that high potential, this is something Belichick just knows how to do, knows how to make these great deals. And the Patriots, with Edelman out specifically for the next couple games, they're weak in wide receiver. They were weak in wide receiver coming into the season regardless. So this is a big pickup for them. There was some interesting circumstances surrounding his release. They were intending to release him on Monday, but then started exploring options for trades. Something about him being active in practice all week, and then Saturday shows up with a hamstring injury, so he's out for the game on Sunday. Apparently, there were also a few other minor violations. A guy that the Browns organization didn't really think was really in it to win it. Not a guy that's coming 100% every day. So similar to Vontae Davis, he realizes that himself, the Browns realize they've given him a lot of chances. And this is a time where they decide as an organization they want to move on, but the Patriots will take a crack at him. And then I believe this is my last story. This is the last top story. More drama with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, give them a show. Give them a reality TV show at this point in time. 0-1-1. We know about the tie to the Browns. They also just allowed 6 touchdown passes to Pat Mahomes on Sunday. Even though Ben Roethlisberger had, an absolutely ridiculous stat line in this game. He threw about 60 passes. I'm going to pull it up real quick. But again, just a team that's out of sorts, and a lot of stuff on the field going wrong, but a lot of stuff off the field as well. In that 42-37 loss to the Chiefs, Ben Roethlisberger goes 39 for 60 passes for 452 yards, 3 touchdowns, adding in a running touchdown for a 4th score. Le'Veon Bell still on his holdout. Antonio Brown was angry with a former Steelers PR member, tweeting something along the lines of, he's lucky he got drafted in the Steelers because without Big Ben, he wouldn't be putting out these numbers. So Brown tweets in response, trade me, let's find out. Does not show up to film study on Monday. He's a no-show, so a lot of controversy, a lot of rumors start to swirl. All the agent claims he doesn't want to be traded, and you have to imagine that's the case. There's no real reason, in my opinion, that Antonio Brown should or would want out of Pittsburgh. But this is just a chain of, we've seen the offensive line not happy, the running back's not happy, wide receiver not management, a lot of disagreements. A lot of people are are these signs that Mike Tomlin's losing the team? And I'm not in the locker room, but it sure looks like things are out of sorts with Pittsburgh. I wouldn't want to be them right now. And they still got a lot of talent, and they still, in my opinion, even now at the 0-1-1, are favorites to be a playoff team. And Antonio Brown will not miss any games because of this. He met with Tomlin today and was disciplined by the team in some form. That is not going to be revealed. But again, just Steelers all out of sorts, all out of whack. And on the field, off the field, turn it into a real mess, a sloppy situation. And what's interesting, going back to Le'Veon Bell stuff as well, is a lot of times you don't see players talk about other players' business, about contracts and stuff like that. But Steelers are everything's starting to go out in the open. That's not a good sign for this football team. So those are the big stories for the week. As we head into the second half of the show, or the second third of the show, time-wise, it's about half, but second of the three main segments is the power rankings, 1 to 32. Where do they rank? Again, we take them 8 at a time every week and go through, and we'll start at the bottom, as always, teams 25 through 32. Starting at the bottom, Cardinals and the Bills, no change here. Neither one of these teams, quite frankly, looks like a competent football team, an NFL caliber football team. Bills lost 47-3, and then they were down, 24-0 or 24-6 at the halftime this week as well. Cardinals have scored just 6 points this entire season. 6 against the Redskins, and they got blanked by the Rams, up 38-0, I believe. And shame on me for taking the Cardinals against the spread with that 13.5 points. It was 34-0, the final score in that game. Just, again, nothing going on for those two. We have also in this bottom 8, the Raiders losing a heartbreaker, the Browns losing another heartbreaker. These are a couple teams can't catch a break. They're better than 29-30 in the league suggests, but it's just rough starts, especially for Cleveland. I mean, they really, in another universe, and I would argue in most universes, Cleveland is 2-0 right now by the way they've played. Had chances to win the game in overtime against the Steelers, led, the entire game basically, minus the last couple minutes against the Saints. Losing there, we also see the Seahawks and the Giants, a pair of teams with no offensive lines whatsoever, and that's the main issue there. Giants and the Giants and the Seahawks, I guess, look like they have defenses that are going to be good enough. Definitely at least average defenses, potentially maybe a bit better, that will keep them in games, but no offensive lines whatsoever. Lions losing a close one to the Niners, but I liked what I saw from them, keeping it competitive. And then the Jets, that was a 1 week where everyone loved the Jets. Everyone hopped on the Jets train. And how quickly did that vanish in the 2012 loss to the Dolphins, where the Jets could not get anything going? Not a great game for Sam Darnold, 334 through the air, but 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Kind of have to watch the turnovers with him. A lot of that was in garbage time. He was 20-0 at halftime, and then the Jets getting 12 on the board by virtue of a touchdown and a missed extra point in third, and then 2 field goals in the fourth. But none of these teams looking too strong to start the year as we head into the next quartile. There we see 17 through 24. Colts beating the Redskins, jumping up 7 spots, while the Redskins fall 7 right below them. And if you didn't know that this was early season NFL football, look at swings in this quartile. We got many teams up 7, down 9, up 5, down 5. 49ers, the only team that did not go up or down by 5, going up by 2 slots with that win over the Lions that I just talked about. Texans, a real disappointment. They lost to a Blaine Gabbert-led Titans team. That should have been an easy win for them. But unfortunately, not able to put it together, allowed a touchdown early, kind of set the tone on that fake punt. And then a bit out of sorts afterwards and really struggled. And Deshaun Watson also with poor clock management. In the end there, they had not too much time, only a minute, maybe less to go on that final drive. They tried to tie it up, send it to OT, but still wasting way too much time. He cost any chance they had it, tying and potentially winning that game. So the Titans move up just above them. Neither one of these teams, again, I think has looked too great. 49ers had tough draw opening week against the Vikes. But a decent win for them. And then the Ravens, I mean, if you want to know how bad the Bills are, rather. The Ravens beat the Bills 47-3, and then they were down 21-0 early against the Bengals. Made it closer by the end, for sure. But come on. I mean, and that's what we were saying. We were saying last week, we won't really know if the Ravens are real, because they just played the Bills. And then they play a real team, and I think the answer is clear. The Ravens are not real. That's the bottom half of your power rankings. Moving into the top half, 9 through 16. And look at that, number 9, the Buccaneers, moving up 10 spots. Will the Buccaneers hold at 9 for the rest of the season? Probably not. But, if this list is about confidence and winning a game next week, and until they prove me wrong, these guys look real good. Number 30 to start the season. Moved up 11 spots after week 1. Moved up another 10 after week 2. At this rate, they'll be number 1 next week. That won't happen. But, come on. Buccaneers. Again, look at the strength of schedule as well. Those 2 wins coming up against the Saints and the Eagles, 2 teams I have in the top 10. We'll see the Eagles in that final section. Definitely not the number 1 they were last week, but still up there. Cowboys, again, that was kind of an ugly game against the Giants. They did what they needed to do. Got some points on the board early. Steelers falling to 15. The only team in the top half without a win. They do have that draw once again. It's still more talent, though, than any of these winless teams. It's not particularly close. Broncos, Bears, Chargers all moving up a couple spots with wins. Again, Chargers were this week's team that essentially got the bye week by playing Buffalo. Like the Bears. I really do like the Bears these first couple weeks of the year. Good, strong defensive performance. You want to talk about the Khalil Mack trade. A very interesting stat I saw was Khalil Mack versus the Raiders in these first 2 weeks of the season. And I'm going to try to pull that up right now. So, in the first 2 games, Khalil Mack with 2 sacks, an interception, and the Raiders also threw 2 games, 2 sacks, interception. Khalil Mack with 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery to the Raiders, just 1 forced fumble, and Khalil Mack with a touchdown. So after that trade, Khalil Mack outperforming the whole Raiders defense by himself. Can you clarify that comment? Which team are we talking about with the O-line? But as I look into this list, again, we'll see 9 through 11 are all teams in the NFC South. Interesting. Note, again, the Panthers are the worst ranked team for me in this NFC South, and they're at 11. So this is a great division, and that's the one to watch out for me. That's going to be the most interesting race this season. And also, could they get both wild cards out of the NFC? I think it's pretty unlikely. I think the Vikings and the Packers will probably both make the playoffs. Chicago also with an opportunity. The Giants. So the Giants O-line, they picked up some new pieces. They picked up Nate Solder from the Patriots. An aging guy, not exactly the greatest anymore, but a decent addition. Also picking up Will Hernandez in the second round of the draft. A new center, John Jalapeno. Moving Eric Flowers, the notorious First round pick. I got to sigh every time I mention that guy's name. That's had a terrible career. He's moved pretty harsh to me, but really he's just been awful. He's moved from left tackle to right tackle. So no huge names, but they're throwing every person they have, trying to make something work. Let's see. The Bucks, Saints, Panthers, great division. So NFC, talking NFC playoffs, Packers and Vikings for me, probably making the playoffs. And I think the Bears will be the seventh team, or seventh or eighth team. NFC's got a lot of great teams. And I think the NFC will be NFC South, whoever gets two there. I would say Saints, Falcons, same as last year if I had to bet on it now. But the Bucks and the Panthers obviously both have potential. I'm not really seeing a wild card coming out of the NFC West. The Rams are going to win the division in a landslide. Seahawks, Niners, Cardinals, not seeing anyone there. And the NFC East, I would see the Eagles. I'm not really seeing a wild card there. I had high hopes for the division coming into the season. Nothing looks too great out of the NFC East right now, not even the Eagles. But again, we'll move into this final top 8 teams. Drum roll, please. Here we go. New number 1 team this week, Rams. New number 2 team this week, Jaguars, taking over the spots the Eagles and the Patriots held a week ago. For me, let me see. The Chiefs go up 3 spots. Who was our number 3 team last week? Might have been the Vikings. They might actually be going down 1. I'm not positive. But for me, the Rams and the Jaguars can't have anyone else 1-2. Can't do it. These 2 teams have been the best 2 teams in the league these first couple weeks. The Rams just blowing people out of the water. Big game against the Raiders, big game against the Cardinals. Haven't really played a good team yet, obviously, but I have all the confidence in the world that these guys are going to continue to crush people. Jaguars beating the Patriots, that's a way to get yourselves into the top 2. And then the Chiefs, come on. 10 touchdown passes from Mahomes the first 2 weeks. He's earned it. That team's earned it. These 3 teams are showing up. And then we see that next group, those preseason Super Bowl contenders, the Vikings, the Patriots, Eagles still there. Falcons and Packers, for me, no movement there. Packers really should have won that game against the Vikings. If you haven't looked it up, do yourself a favor and search up that Clay Matthews roughing the passer call. I am definitely in the frame of mind that we're going a little too crazy with roughing the passer these first couple weeks of the season. All these rule changes to protect the quarterback. New rules now, you can't, use the force of your body, whole body weight to take down the quarterback, or they have their specific ways they word things. But what it comes down to is some of these calls, especially the Clay Matthews one, and to give you a little bit of background, the Packers are leading 29-21 with about a minute and a half left, and the Vikings will eventually go on their 2-minute drill and tie the game with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. But on the first play of the drive, Kirk Cousins throws an interception, which should have sealed the deal. But Clay Matthews gets called for a ridiculous roughing the passer call. Nothing of the sort. And it ends up giving the Vikings that chance to tie the game, which they do, to give them credit. Kirk Cousins has been another great player early on in this season. And you see the Falcons there. No movement. They did beat the Panthers. Good on them. I couldn't really move them ahead of the Patriots or the Eagles, though. Eagles did beat them week 1, but overall, still more confidence in the Eagles. Carson Wentz returning next week, rather. It's the first 2 games of the season. Nick Foles started. Nick Foles did not look great, but now the man is back. And Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Going into the predictions, you can see my last week and my season stats so far. This is not something you will see every week. Actually did better against the spread than straight up. It was a difficult straight up week, not just for me, for a lot of people as well. I think myself. I mean, I'm not happy with the performance, clearly, but it was a tough one for sure. A lot of upsets. And me, a fool, picked the Giants. So there's that. 8-7 versus 9-7 against the spread. The difference there, obviously the tie and the straight up. And then against the spread, the tie with that Vikings-Packers game. The Packers were favorite, so Vikings won against the spread. So there's where we'll get that game difference. And on the season, still a very solid 19-11 straight up and 18-13 against the spread. You're making money if you pick against the spread with me. We're not knocking anything out of the ballpark, but a solid start to this season. So let's get into these games. First game, Jets-Browns. Jets with a great week 1, a poor week 2. Browns, they should have won both the games, but Browns going to Brown, 0-1. Browns actually favored by 3 at home. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm picking the Cleveland Browns, 24-20. I don't think I've picked the Browns in a game since about 2015. But here we go this week, finally, with 1. 3-point favorites, and I'll even take them to cover. I'll take them for 4. 24-20 will be my score in this one. Gotta love Cleveland. Gotta be rooting for Cleveland to win one of these games. And they gotta do it at some point, right? I mean, come on. And I think the Jets at home is a pretty good opportunity. I'm gonna like them to do it. Saints Falcons, great game. Every game in the NFC South is going to be huge this season. So really exciting to see Falcons getting this one at home. Can they beat the Panthers and the Saints in back-to-back weeks? If they do, that'll be humongous for them as far as tiebreakers go later on in the season. My score on this one, 30-28. I like the Falcons. Not confident enough in them to cover. I think it's going to be very close. High-scoring game, I anticipate. And I'm taking the Falcons by a deuce. Next game up on the schedule, Broncos going into Baltimore, taking on the Ravens. This was one. The line to me looked wrong. I had to go to a couple places, make sure. I wasn't seeing a typo, but 5 or 5.5 around the board. Ravens, for me, again, we saw them have a really difficult game against the Bengals. Broncos 2-0, Ravens 1-1. Ravens are the home team. I'm not feeling too confident in Baltimore. That being said, 5.5 is a lot for this matchup. 23-21, it could easily be lower scoring even than that. These are two teams that are, I think, defense first. I think that's safe to say. An interesting game. A couple teams, again, I think could be in that wild card hunt. It's interesting because if we were talking NFC, I wouldn't think these teams would really be in that great of shape moving forward. But in the AFC, it is a little easier. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if either one of these teams snuck in a playoff spot. And if they are going to do that, this is going to be a big week for both teams. Checking the comments. Yep. Browns. Taking the Browns. I know. Jets, I disagree. Falcons. Yep, we're good. And Case Keenum, could he go 3-0? Case Keenum's not looked good. He has not looked good at all so far. But the defense has been fine. Keenum's had a lot of interceptions. I mean, the Broncos are 2-0. I mean, say what you want. They have won games. Ravens look kind of ugly. I was really surprised this line. I think it'll be a close game, but I was surprised to see the Ravens favored by 5.5. Next game, Bengals-Panthers. Bengals 2-0. Bengals a team. They wins over the Colts. And then the Ravens, of course. Not a team, I said in my week 1 show, I think they were pretty locked in at 6-7 wins. Just, your average Marvin Lewis season these days. I'm personally not super sold on them as a playoff team yet. A win over the Panthers, especially on the road, would change that. If they can go 3-0, it'll be a very big win for the team. I'll definitely have to start reconsidering them. But for now, I'm going to take Panthers 21-16. Moving on, Giants, Texans. Texans favored by a full touchdown. Ouch. I will be at this game, very excited for this, even though it is the only Week 3 matchup between two winless teams. Oh well. Giants, of course, I'll be hoping they can get things turned around, get back on the right track. Unfortunately, my prediction will not be so. I'm going to take the Texans 20-17. I said earlier, I think the Giants' defense is good enough where they will, they're not going to get blown out. We even saw that against Jacksonville 2015. I mean, the Giants game so far this season, 2015 loss, 2013 loss. I feel like that's a pretty fair score for most of their games this season until we see otherwise. And it's really going to start with the offensive line. The offensive line is a problem. I think, although something else, and there's a lot of talk about Eli Manning after he hasn't really been great for a few years. I mean, great. Has he ever been great? Arguable. He's had a couple pretty decent seasons. 2011, 2013, I think, off the top of my head. He's been definitely up there with the better quarterbacks in the league. For the most part, kind of a middle-tier quarterback. But I think the issue with having a poor offensive line, and it really came into focus for me during that game against the Cowboys, is his lack of mobility. Sometimes, especially last season, you saw Seahawks games. The Seahawks still had no offensive line. But having a mobile quarterback like Russell Wilson, sometimes he can just make something of it. He can have crazy plays where he just runs around for 8 seconds and buys time and makes something crazy happen. Eli can't do that. We saw him try to move around a little bit, and he just got clobbered. I mean, he got sacked 6 times in this game. It's not on him. Not all on him, but also not very mobile. And I think something that's very important to realize about the Giants is Eli Manning I don't think he has confidence in his offensive line. I think he's really nervous when he's stepping back to pass. And we saw that in this game. Thanks for joining, Matthew. Saquon Barkley set a Giants franchise record with 14 receptions in this game, 14 catches, and only for 80 yards. Eli has no time to throw the ball, so he looks at Odell. Maybe he looks at Evan Ingram. Then he's got 4 guys flying towards him because his O-line can't do anything. And then he's just, nervous, and he just has to throw, a little check down. And Saquon Barkley's always going to be there, by the sideline, line of scrimmage, because he can make a couple guys miss, but, he's only going to gain 5 to 6 yards most of these times, if that. And the Giants never really throw the ball deep. A couple deep shots. They had a great completion, actually, to Cody Latimer in that game. And I realize I'm kind of ranting about the Giants here, but I do enjoy it. It's not a lot of fun to be had for a Giants fan these days. But the Giants don't take a lot of deep shots. This was a huge problem last season. Last season they were just running the same personnel every time, tons of wide receiver screens and dump offs to running backs. And the problem with the Giants is that it seems like they never throw the ball past the first down marker, right? Eli Manning went 33 for 44. Like, you have a guy who goes 75% on 44 attempts. I mean, hell of a game. But, it was only for about 220 and a touchdown. And a touchdown coming in garbage time because they never throwing the ball in positions where they can really pick up a lot of yards. And it all goes back to the offensive line in the end because the wide receivers don't have enough time to develop their routes. And they don't call plays where they can really run some of these longer developing routes, some of these longer developing plays. But at some point, they got to get first downs, and they're just not putting themselves in positions to continue these drives, which is the main problem for me for the Giants. They have all the stars, but they can't use them properly because they're not in these positions to actually have them go out and make plays and sustain drives. That's the Giants spiel for the week. Texans by 3. Moving on. Titans, Jags. Jags by 6.5. Still unsure about Mariota this week. Will they have Blaine Gabbert again? I think if it is Blaine Gabbert, for sure, Jaguars against the spread. With Mariota, we'll see. I'm going to go 28-20. I'm going to take the Jaguars against the spread here. 49ers, Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 6.5. I like the Chiefs to score a lot of points because that seems to be what the Chiefs do. So 34-24. Let's see a lot of points. Hell, let's see 40. Let's see more. But we'll see. 34, I believe, is the most I've projected for a team so far this season. But the Chiefs have definitely shown their ability to throw a lot of points on the board. Loving their offense so far. Raiders, Dolphins. It's going to be interesting for me. I'm not sold on the Dolphins 2-0. Wins over the Titans and the Jets. I feel like what I want to do is just keep picking against the Dolphins. And then I'll just be wrong every week. All of a sudden, the Dolphins will go 12-4, and I'll be the idiot picking against them every single time. So I'm not really sure on this one. I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit by saying Dolphins by 1. Because if I pick one of these teams, if I pick the Raiders, straight up, I'll be wrong. If I pick the Dolphins to cover, I know I'll be wrong. So maybe this will be close. This will be an interesting one. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, that Dolphins, again, started for me 32 on the power rankings. What I have now, I have them low 20s, like 22, 23. I don't remember exactly. But, again, I'm not sold on them yet. Similar to the Bengals. Not quite sold yet. We'll see. Second half of the picks, Bills, Vikes. This is a big spread. I mean, 16.5, and you thought the 13.5 Rams against Cardinals game was a lot last week. And I made the mistake in that one. I did not take the Rams. I said 13.5. And, a younger me would have said anytime a team is favored by 2 touchdowns, take the underdog. Because how often are they going to win by 2 touchdowns? Because you get a lot of games that are blowouts but end up 28-17, And you look at even the game the Bills played last week. It was like 24-0. I forget the halftime score. 21-0, 24-0, something along those lines. And, the Bills did throw up like 17 points. But the Vikings is a much better defense than the Chargers. Yeah, this is going to be ugly. 16.5, no problem. Let's make a gamble. Let's say 31-13 Vikings. Let's make a gamble. Should be fun. I mean, the Bills are a dumpster fire. The Vikings should win this one easily. But 16.5, yeah, we'll go for it. Colts, Eagles. In this one, Eagles coming back home after dropping their game against the Bucs. Trying to respond against the Colts. I think they'll get the win. Not feeling it at the 6.5. I like Andrew Luck. I really do. I really like how the Colts were able to control that game against the Redskins. That stood out to me. They picked up a lead early. They were able to sustain it. The Redskins, only 3 field goals managed in that one. The Bills owner will retire mid-game. Yeah, I love it. Man, Bills. But yeah, 27-23 is going to be my call in this Eagles-Colts game. I think the Colts will put some points on the board. Eagles, to me, have not looked particularly great. And Wentz will come in and he'll get them the win. But this is not the team that I've seen blowing people out. And they've been struggling with some other injuries from that game against Tampa Bay. Packers, Redskins, we're going to give this one to the Cheeseheads, 28-20. Don't have a ton to say about this game other than Aaron Rodgers is just going to pick them apart because that's what he does. 28-20. I think the Redskins will rebound a little bit offensively. But Packers still. And I believe this is the first game on the entire slate where the road team is the spread favorite, which was very interesting for me. But yeah, 28-20, moving on. Chargers, Rams, interesting game. Rams are favored by 7. Again, a lot of points in this one. Going to be pretty exciting for me. Very interested to watch this one. See if the Rams can still hold up in their first test against a real team. I think they will. I'll take them to cover the 7 as well. I'm pretty high on the Rams, number 1 in the power rankings. Just looking great to me. I'll take them 31-23. Bears, Cardinals. Bears favored by 6 on the road. And another simple one for me. The Cardinals have only scored 6 points all year. And until they show me that they deserve to be an NFL franchise, I'm just going to pick against them. And against them against the spread every time. Because, man, do they look ugly. So 24-10. Look at that. Only 6 points in the first 2 weeks, and I'm giving them 10. What an offensive breakout for the Cardinals. In reality, a few more of these pretty bad performances, and you have to throw in Josh Rosen at quarterback over Sam Bradford. Just see what he's got. I mean, so it already looks like a wasted season as is, just 2 games in. Cowboys, Seahawks, another one of what feels like will be a very close game. To me, it has the same kind of ring to it, to me, as that Cowboys-Giants game from last week. Giants and Seahawks are not too dissimilar for me, and right next to each other in the power rankings as well. So my thought process on this game was, what was the score of the Giants game against the Cowboys last week? 2013? Yeah, all right. We'll go for that, 2013. Not too much more to say. Patriots, Lions. Patriots favored by 7. It is the homecoming for Matt Patricia. Not quite. Lions are the home team, so he's not going back to New England. But the former defensive coordinator turned Lions coach, perennial pencil over the ear, Matt Patricia, taking on the former team against the Patriots. Patriots looking to bounce back. The Patriots, one thing about the Patriots that you got to know, they do not lose 2 games in a row, especially not against this Lions team. 30-20 is going to be my call. I like that return to form from New England. I mean, as a fan, I don't like it, but as a pick, yeah. I mean, come on. And then in our final game, Steelers, Bucks. Bucks at home. Bucks are 2-0. The Steelers are 0-1. Again, the Bucks, the 2-0 teams at home. Steelers favored by 1. This only means one thing. Vegas doesn't believe in the Fitzmagic. Luckily, I believe in the Fitzmagic. 3-0. 26-24, Bucks over the Steelers. Final game of the week, Monday Night Football. A much better Monday Night Football matchup, I think, than we might have thought going into the season. A lot of people might have thought the Steelers would just come in and crush it. But for the Steelers, this is really going to be, I mean, maybe a bit early to say a make or break game, but maybe not. Because if they fall to 0-2-1, I mean, think about how many other things could start to fall apart for them. Already all the problems they've been having if they drop another one against this Bucks team. And what would that be for the Bucks? 3-0. And at that point, there's no way Jameis Winston's starting. You got to keep running with Fitzpatrick. 26-24 is going to be my final call. I'm not willing to say Fitzpatrick goes for another 404 touchdowns. But 303 touchdowns? Yeah, why not? Let's see. Make it happen. That'll be my call for this game. So that's going to be the end of my picks. And once again, from the last few weeks, I know it's a bit blurry, and I'll try to find a way to improve that in the future. But you do see all my final scores on the left and the right side of your screen. As always, I'll stick around for a few minutes if anyone has any final questions for me. Thanks for tuning in, Sydney. Unfortunately, Steelers, look, they're a mess, and you know they're a mess right now. And I'm going to have them dropping this one in a close one against the Bucks. Fitz hat trick. Hashtag Fitz hat trick, people. Let's make it happen. 3-0. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 wins. Why not? But yeah, so as always, last few minutes here, I will answer a few questions if anyone has any. It's been a fun show. A lot of crazy things happen in the NFL season, early goings. Last couple of years, we've had some, NFL's down ratings-wise, and I don't actually know what the ratings have been these first few weeks, but, I mean, there's been a lot of great storylines. I mean, it's looking really fun. I can't wait to see where we're headed for the next 4 months. Is he growing the beard yet? Fitzpatrick? Oh, you know Fitzpatrick's got the beard. You know he's got the beard. And if you haven't seen his press conference after that game, after the Eagles game, I mean, at least find a picture of him. I mean, really, dude looks like Conor McGregor. You'd have me fooled. Fitzpatrick's crazy. You gotta love him. Antonio Brown to be traded to the Patriots. Yeah. I mean, knowing Belichick, he'll probably find a way to get Antonio Brown for like a 4th-round pick and a souvenir soda. So the Steelers aren't getting rid of him, realistically. He wants to stay. And I mean, if they're looking to get rid of Bell and Antonio Brown, I mean, there goes the team. That is your team right there with those two guys. So, I mean, they got to look. I don't know about the Le'Veon Bell stuff, but they got to keep at least one of them. How many games does Watson get if he doesn't win? Deshaun Watson? I don't think they're looking to replace Deshaun Watson. He hasn't looked like himself. Obviously, coming back from that ACL injury, has not looked like himself in these first couple games. But, I think he'll get back into it. I think he's still a great player. I'm not really too worried about his future, honestly. So unless things go really south for the Texans, I think it'd have to be another couple months before they replace him, honestly. My opinion. And chances the Bills rally together given the Vontae drama. Maybe. Maybe they'll rally together, have some bros night out, go bowling or something, really get everything together, locked in mentality. But that's not going to do them any good because they just don't have the talent. They really don't. Man. The Bills, next season. Look, a good season for the Bills at this point would just to be not the number 1 overall pick. But is that really a good season? Because they probably want the number 1 overall pick. I don't know. 3-13, honestly. Honest prediction, 3-13. At some point in time, they'll find a way to scrap together a few. I mean, it's tough to really predict teams to do worse than 3-13. Prediction on Josh Gordon. Difficult. I mean, new position. If Josh Gordon was going to be put in a position to succeed, I mean, this is it. He's got Tom Brady. He's moving away from Cleveland, which is probably a good thing for him, given its history. I don't think you're going to see another 2013 Josh Gordon season out of Josh Gordon. But he's definitely an impact player. If you want me to spit out some stats, I don't know. We'll give him 800 yards. It's a lot. Yeah, we'll give him 800. We'll give him 800 yards and 6 touchdowns. And we'll see. And, maybe he'll just be out of the league in 2 weeks. That's always a possibility with Josh Gordon. But he's a great player. I don't think obviously, this is a fun stat, actually. I read about Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon has not been on the field for a Browns win since 2014. It's crazy. Missed all of 15, missed all of 16. Played in 5 games in 2017, but we know the Browns didn't win any games in 2017. His last one came in like November, maybe December 2014. Pretty ridiculous. First starting quarterback to be benched. We already saw it with Nathan Peterman for the Bills. Realistically, my bet would be on Sam Bradford. I think they'll start Josh Rosen because they're going to realize that the Browns or the Cardinals are a mess, and they're just going to look at they're going to see what they got, and they should. Why not? Sam Bradford's not your future quarterback. Come on. Sam Bradford, between injuries and just mediocrity, Sam Bradford has never won 8 games in a season. So there's that. Eli's not being benched. I know it's funny, but he's not being benched this season. And I can tell you because last season the Giants' backup was Davis Webb, and he's not even on the roster. They dropped him. Giants' backup quarterbacks are Kyle Lauletta, who we drafted in the 4th round, I think, plus or minus 1 round, the 4th round in this year's draft, and he's not ready. He didn't do anything in the preseason. And, take Kyle Lauletta against Eli Manning. I mean, come on. One won 2 Super Bowls, and the other was an FCS quarterback out of Richmond. And the other quarterback on the roster, Alex Tanney, who's been a 3rd string around the NFL for a while. So Eli will be in there, for better or for worse. Unless he gets sacked so many times he breaks something. But Eli Manning's never broken anything. It's pretty ridiculous with the amount of shots this man's taken with his lack of an offensive line that he's even still playing. But hey, that's what he does. He is the Iron Man until Ben McAdoo decides to bench him for a game and snap a 200-game streak. Whatever. Yeah. I mean, the Giants have been banged in the 2 Super Bowls. The Giants have never had a great season. To be honest, the best season the Giants have had in my lifetime was the 12-4 season in 2008. After they won the first Super Bowl. That was the year they started about 11-1, I think. And then Plaxico Burress shot himself, literally. And they lost 3 out of their last 4 and then lost in the divisional round of the playoffs. Don't really like to talk about that. But, And then they've only made since the 2nd Super Bowl in 2011. They've only made the playoffs once in 2016, and even that year, the defense carried them. It was an 11-5 record, but Eli Manning posted much better numbers in the 3 prior seasons where they went 7-9 every time. It's kind of ridiculous. Actually, not the 1 year. The 1 year he threw 27 picks. Not that year, but he did have a couple pretty good years. He had a year where he went 4,400 yards, 35 touchdowns, 14 picks. He's had some pretty good years. Yeah. So again, any more questions? Just I'll be here for a while if anyone wants to say anything. But I think we probably have it covered. But I'll hang around for another minute or so. Again, it's been a fun show for me. I think I'm starting to nail down on the format. Clean it up a little bit moving forward. My nose has been a bit of an issue in my voice and whatever, but held up pretty well, I think, especially once I got settled in. But yeah. Direct Snap, Top Level Sports. And still trying to work on YouTube. We'll be trying to make some regular YouTube videos in addition to these. Try to move away from the articles. Still going to write some articles every now and again. But moving more towards YouTube, I think, is the future goal. But yeah, that's about all I have for this show. Thanks everyone for tuning in and watching. Again, it's been a lot of fun for me, and a lot of fun to have people commenting as well, so I don't feel like I'm just talking into the void. We can get some conversations going, get a little banter, always good. Once again, this has been Direct Snap for Top Level Sports. I'm Connor Groel, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time here on Facebook Live. So until next week, I'm signing out. See you.